Joyce Meyer is a famous and esteemed speaker and TV host. She was smack dab in the thick of an unforgettable and shocking incident today. Most of the time, the courtroom was empty except for the sound of lawyers discussing cases. However, tensions rose as the judge prepared to hand down the punishment. A mix of excitement and fear showed on Meyer's face as he stood there. It was impossible for anyone to predict what would happen. The following words were so grave that they seemed to put a chill in the air. In an instant, her expression shifted from shocked to considerably more terrified. Joyce Meyer collapsed to the floor in the center of the courtroom before anyone had a chance to grasp the gravity of the situation. As the gravity of the situation became apparent, gasps resounded throughout the room. The intensity of that reaction begs the question, why? Were they internally affected, or did the words themselves have that negative effect? There was a stunned hush as everyone rushed to her rescue. The subsequent events unfolded at a rate that defied comprehension. Everyone is wondering what happened to cause Meyer to fall and what harsh reality she now must face because of this unexpected turn of events. Joyce Meyer's career and rise are inspiring tales of perseverance, faith, and controversy. She overcame a difficult upbringing to become a prominent Christian televangelist. For decades, she has been a leading voice in the prosperity gospel movement, and her global fan base numbers in the millions. As an example of perseverance in the face of adversity, her meteoric climb to fame is frequently cited. On the other hand, her detractors argue that her kingdom is built on financial abuse, strategic branding, and the commercialization of Christianity. To a Missouri family, Meyer came into this world in 1943. She has spoken openly about her childhood trauma as a result of abuse in her books and lectures. Her testimony about how her faith helped her recover served as inspiration for her subsequent writings. She attended a local charismatic church in the early 1970s, marking the beginning of her spiritual journey. Service work immediately captivated her. Joyce Meyer Ministries is a non-denominational Christian organization that she founded in 1985. Her life lessons on faith, self-empowerment, and financial success are the focus. Back then, Meyer wrote in an open, honest, and very personal style. She connected with people on a personal level by sharing her story of suffering, redemption, and triumph, rather than by portraying herself as an icy, flawless preacher. Women going through tough times who sought her advice found her relatable because she was honest. Taking advantage of the reach of radio and television, she launched her daily show Enjoying Everyday Life as her star began to rise, and it became an instant hit. The show became a staple of her brand, allowing her to reach millions of people all over the globe and expanding her audience beyond churchgoers, with its blend of religious lessons and self-help advice. Over the next 2 decades, her fame skyrocketed, thanks in large part to her ability to capitalize on the expanding market for religiously inspired media. Her already high status among Christians was further enhanced by the fact that she penned over 100 books, many of which were bestsellers. Her highly successful books such as Battlefield of the Mind, The Confident Woman, and Living Beyond Your Feelings cemented her reputation as a spiritual leader and motivational speaker. Her books and teachings resonated with many people, particularly those seeking both philosophical and pragmatic guidance on their personal growth. Although Meyer's expanding business was ostensibly based on faith, not everyone shared this view. With a massive center in Fenton, Missouri, housing offices, recording studios, and other expansive spaces, Joyce Meyer Ministries had grown into a multi-million-dollar enterprise by the early 2000s. She shifted her lectures' emphasis to material prosperity, claiming that God rewards faithfulness with financial blessings. The shift toward the prosperity gospel was met with growing skepticism. Meyer's detractors brought up his own extravagant spending habits, which they said included a secret office complex worth tens of millions of dollars, a private jet worth $10 million, multiple mansions, and designer clothing that cost a pretty penny. Her prosperity sparked widespread speculation about whether it was a divine blessing or the product of deft marketing. The boundary between religion and business started to blend together. The extent of Meyer's wealth came to light, and investigations into the ministry's finances quickly followed. Investigative journalists and watchdog organizations were worried that she was taking advantage of her tax-exempt status to enrich herself at the expense of her donors. Before anything else, the event when the United States government looked into a number of prominent televangelists, including Joyce Meyer, Senate, to determine whether their groups were misusing tax-exempt monies. Meyer provided some financial details and assisted with the investigation, but her wealth remained a mystery. Even though she was the center of attention, Meyer didn't let her success bring her down. She frequently claimed that she did not receive gifts, but rather became wealthy through the sale of books and speeches. She rationalized her lifestyle choices by claiming they were evidence of God's blessings rather than poor fiscal management. In her writings, Meyer has constructed a dual picture. The teachings of the Bible have given hope to millions of people, and for some, she represents strength and faith. Some see her as a representation of the commercialization of Christianity in the modern era, whereby one's faith is seen as connected to financial success. Her supporters vouch for her moral counsel and point to her achievements as evidence that she is an effective leader. Some, however, see her company as nothing more than the latest televangelists cashing in on their fan base. Meyer remains a divisive figure in the ministry, but she is not stopping from ministering. Her admirers are divided, with some viewing her with suspicion and others with awe. Additionally, she is perpetually the focal point of debates concerning the interplay between religion, wealth, and authority. Rumors and speculations regarding her have circulated for a long time due to the contentious nature of her work. Everyone is wondering if Joyce Meyer's company has finally hit rock bottom now that she's in legal hot water. There was a lot of starting, continuing, and ending that had to happen. What do you think? Let us pray. I am utterly unsure of what will come out of my mouth, Father, so I beg you to fill it. You promised to open it, and now you actually have. So, I'm going to try opening my mouth and walking on water. The things that people need to hear will be filled by you. I have faith in that. My life's narrative is too long to tell in an hour, but I have faith in your ability to glean the essential details that will benefit others. By the end of today, I hope that everyone will have the confidence that comes from knowing they are capable of anything you put their minds to. With Jesus' name on it, I pray, Amen. To sum up, every person has a tale to tell. It's not that I think my work is superior to others. Everybody cares about their story. Speculation regarding her incarceration and the controversy that initiated it all. Many, both religious and secular, have expressed shock at the prospect of Joyce Meyer's arrest. This woman's motivational speeches and bestseller books made her seem unstoppable in Christian media. Nobody saw this coming, but now she's in the middle of a scandal. Through his decades-long campaign of convincing millions that unwavering faith could result in divine blessings, Meyer amassed a kingdom based on faith and riches. However, many are now wondering if the very wealth she amassed was the downfall that ultimately led to her downfall. Unexpectedly, news reports began to surface regarding Meyer's legal issues. It appeared at first that all they were wild speculation and false news stories meant to stir up trouble on the internet. The whispers quickly turned into a media frenzy as more details emerged, reliable news sources. There was a lot of rumors when word got out that someone might be under criminal investigation for financial misdeeds. Maybe the woman who had taught us how to persevere in the face of adversity was suddenly going through a tough patch herself. The conflict began with allegations that Joyce Meyer Ministries misappropriated funds. Concerns about the group's spending habits regarding tax-free funds, large purchases, and gifts had persisted for a long time. Many have long been critical of Meyer's ostentatious lifestyle, which includes his expensive mansion, private jets, designer clothes, and expensive cars. To a religious leader, whose duty it is to emphasize faith rather than wealth, These things were considered excessive. Meyer maintained her wealth came from speaking and selling books, but many questioned whether her charitable contributions were going to waste. The new scandal has some shocking allegations, the most prominent of which is that Meyer and her organization may have deceived contributors into thinking their money was going toward actual charitable projects. Allegedly, Meyer was using a large portion of the funds for his own use and other undisclosed business endeavors. According to several anonymous former employees, the ministry did all in its power to evade government inspections and kept financial records intentionally vague. Some have speculated that behind closed doors, for years, agents of the Internal Revenue Service and other government agencies had been gathering evidence against Joyce Meyer Ministries in preparation for a possible legal battle. Because of this, things became much worse. Rumors have it that the investigation is primarily focused on tax fraud, theft, and violations of regulations regarding the handling of funds by nonprofits, even though no formal charges have been announced as of yet. If Meyer is correct, her entire group could be in for a rough patch. Witnesses may be former insiders willing to testify against Meyer, according to those with extensive knowledge of the case, which made an already difficult situation much worse. According to these sources, the company's top executives were concealing more information about the company's finances than they were admitting. These allegations, if proven, might spell disaster for a major Christian group in the world today. Naturally, there are many who believe this is all part of a plot to discredit Meyer and topple a prominent religious figure. Her supporters argue that Christians have historically been unfairly persecuted and that this may be just another instance of a powerful preacher facing consequences for her influence. Meyer has always been forthright about her financial dealings, according to these individuals who claim the accusations against her are an effort to tarnish her reputation. However, for some, this event serves as a much-needed wake-up call. They claim that televangelists like Meyer have been amassing large fortunes for quite some time without adequate oversight, all the while claiming to be engaged in sacred work. For them, this case represents the long overdue retribution of a corporation that has profited off the trust of its customers. Details remain frustratingly vague as news of Meyer's incarceration spread. Various reports indicated that she had already been taken into custody, while others stated that she was merely being interrogated and had not been formally charged as of yet. More ideas were generated as a result of the abundance of uncertainty. These varied from Meyer's legal team postponing what was going to happen to a massive government cover-up. Whatever the case may be, Joyce Meyer has gone from being a mere author and preacher to the focal point of a court case that has everyone talking. We have no idea whether this scandal will destroy her career or if she can pull through. A recurring question, though, is whether Joyce Meyer's kingdom has begun to crumble or whether she will discover a means to regain its glory. I want you to know that I am not trying to put you down. We've all been hurt. Even though it may sound corny now, I'm glad I went through it all because it shaped me into the person I am today. It's the key that has opened doors for me to assist countless victims of abuse all over the globe, particularly women. We probably don't have a clue as to how many individuals here have experienced sexual abuse. Everyone has experienced the pain of being a victim of abuse, neglect, unloving parents, teasing, or comparison to another child. You might have informed someone or you might have kept it a secret. You are incredibly fortunate to have had wonderful parents who instilled in you a love for learning and a belief in your own abilities, especially in light of the things some people do to children when they are young. The accusations leveled against Joyce Meyer and her legal troubles have sparked passionate debates. While some consider them justifiable repercussions, others feel she is the victim of unfair targeting. For a long time, people have said that she is shady with money and takes donations for herself, which has tarnished her ministry. However, no actual legal consequences have resulted from these claims until now. The once celebrity televangelist is now the subject of a mounting scandal as word of continuing investigations and potential legal action spread. Claims of improper use of charitable funds, tax fraud, and poor financial management are central to the case. Authorities are reportedly trying to determine whether Joyce Meyer Ministries misled contributors about the use of millions of dollars for charity work by falsifying financial records. There have been rumors that money from the ministry was spent on extravagant items like private planes, expensive cars, and mansions, with the justification that the purchases were needed for the ministry. Former employees and other insiders hold some of the most damning testimony. Several of them allegedly have come forward to claim that the purposeful concealment of financial records was done to thwart external audits. The company's financial details were kept secret from all but a select few, according to these whistleblowers. Some claim that large transactions were masked by shell corporations or classified under vague expense headings in order to evade tax authorities. Rumors that Meyer and her colleagues may have been aware of potential legal dangers for some time without having provided evidence of them fuel the argument. Reportedly, the ministry's legal team had previously warned them about potential compliance issues, but the concerns were dismissed. Assuming this to be accurate, it may indicate more than just poor fiscal management. There are far-reaching legal ramifications if it denotes willful misconduct. Legal representation for Meyer has categorically rejected any wrongdoing on her part, arguing that Meyer's opulence is the result of lawful means rather than theft, such as the sale of books and speeches. A person's spending habits have always been transparent, and the accusations are merely an assault on a well-known religious figure. She has detractors who question whether she has truly fulfilled the moral obligations of a religious nonprofit due to her large business empire and extravagant lifestyle. What may happen to Meyer is still unclear as the investigations continue. She might be subject to criminal charges, hefty fines, or the revocation of her ministry's tax-exempt status if the allegations are proven in court. Should this prove to be incorrect, it would constitute yet another instance where a powerful Christian leader is unjustly chastised for her achievements. The impending legal battle will determine whether Joyce Meyer's legacy remains prominent in contemporary Christianity or becomes a cautionary tale about the dangers of abusing one's position of authority, financial resources, and religious convictions. It's heartbreaking at times, but I'm aware that they're often completely unaware of what they're doing. Hatred does nothing but make things worse, since most people are simply acting out of pain. First and foremost, you must understand that a hateful mindset will never lead to improvement. Forgiveness is a prerequisite to recovery. That is among the initial considerations. No matter how difficult or unfair it may seem, God always wants us to do what's best for ourselves, and sometimes that means doing things that seem unfair to others. Having ill will towards someone who has wronged you is like trying to kill them with poison. In the end, you kill yourself. You can see that Dave and I had absolutely no clue what we were doing, so I'm going to break this down into two sections. First, the abuse, and second, the early days of the ministry and the things we had to go through to get where we are now. There's a clear divide among Joyce Meyer's supporters over her trial. On one hand, there are those who believe that she is a victim of an unfair system, and on the other, there are many who believe that justice is finally being served. Meyer was known for many years as a powerful, devout, and prosperous woman, and her teachings touched the lives of millions. However, as the court drama unfolds, her supporters and detractors are arguing more than before. On the one hand, Joyce Meyer's legion of devoted fans is certain that she is innocent. On the other hand, they view the trial as an assault on Christianity and great religious leaders. Many believe that liberal groups and government agencies have long sought to smear televangelists, particularly one as famous as Meyer. Those who support Meyer argue that this is not about financial crimes or theft, but rather about the attempt to silence a powerful religious woman who has touched the lives of millions. Joyce Meyer's supporters are rallying behind her, hoping that she will overcome this trial with the same grace she has faced before. Some in the religious community, including pastors, have stepped forward to defend Meyer, claiming that her wealth is a gift from God and not a result of lying. Some churches have even organized prayer vigils in her honor, hoping that God will bring her strength during this trial. However, not everyone is convinced that she is innocent. A growing number of her former supporters and religious skeptics believe that Meyer has amassed her kingdom by exploiting the faith of weak believers, and they view this trial as a long overdue responsibility. Many of her churchgoers are now wondering what happened to their donations because they feel betrayed by a leader they once trusted. Some have taken to social media to vent about how they were encouraged to give large sums of money with the expectation of spiritual or financial benefits, but instead they have experienced disappointment and financial strain. Critics argue that Meyer's lavish lifestyle, complete with private jets, multi-million-dollar homes, and trendy clothing, contradicts the biblical principles she claims to preach. Some see the trial as revealing her church as a business empire masquerading as a religious organization. A growing number of people are calling for religious organizations to be more transparent about their financial dealings, and Meyer's case is cited as an example of why churches should be more accountable for their actions. Some publications have felt sorry for Meyer, describing her as a religious woman who is being mistreated. Others have seen her as an example of how greedy and dishonest televangelism can be today. The major news outlets have jumped on the bandwagon and are constantly covering the trial, which has further contributed to the polarization among news hosts, lawyers, and financial experts regarding whether Meyer is truly guilty of financial crime or merely a scapegoat. Public sentiment remains bitter and polarized as the trial continues. Nobody can deny that Meyer's reputation has taken a hit. Now everyone is wondering if this is just the beginning of her decline or if she will emerge stronger than before. No matter what happens in court, one thing is certain: Joyce Meyer's legacy will be forever altered by this trial. People will talk about her influence long after the judges have left the room.